Okay, I'm John and
Jane.
And we're gonna be kind of your do the director's audio commentary on our movie here. Here we are. We're landing in Iquitos. Iquitos is a city of about 400,000 people, deep in the Peruvian Amazon, and it's the most populated place on the planet that you cannot get to by road. No roads lead to Iquitos. You get there by airplane or by boat. And when you do land in an airport, one of the things you really want to see is burnt up, dead airplanes just pulled off the runway. Kind of a confidence builder. Kind of makes you glad you made it. So in Iquitos, you get around in these things called motor taxis. They're kind of half cart, half motorcycle. They only go about 30 miles an hour, and the traffic is just completely insane. It's like a slow motion race with no rules. There we go. Driving like crazy through Iquitos. Driving past the Plaza de Armas. This is where the military comes out to scare the people. Iquitos is cool. In the late 1800s, it was a boom town for the rubber trade. So there's all these buildings that are all beautiful and full of beautiful tile, and it's pretty much just been crumbling ever since. First thing we did is we rented a boat and we headed upriver, and we went to this place called the Butterfly Farm. Peter, our guide for this, main guide for this trip, told us that we should, before going to the jungle, we should go see some of the animals that we're going to be scaring away. And at the Butterfly Farm, this woman rehabilitates injured and kind of half-domesticated animals, lots of monkeys and stuff. And so it was pretty cool that we got to see not only the butterflies, but a lot of the local animals. There she is.
She's a German woman who somehow ended up in Iquitos and somehow had the money to build this farm.
Lots of caterpillars in the hatchery.
Jaguar.
That's a tapir.
Sloth.
And the one thing I learned here is that monkeys are hilarious. They're jumping on the other animals and just fighting amongst themselves. Here's one I had that sat on my neck for about 20 minutes. He's my little monkey friend. And there's lots of different kinds of monkeys here. And lots of different kinds of butterflies. There's a giant anteater that they were feeding milk to. And of course it had monkeys jumping on it too. And that anteater is going to be released back into the wild soon. I don't know what was wrong with it. So then we headed back to Iquitos in our Peki Peki boat. There's some really cool cloud formations, big storms brewing as we returned, although we didn't get rained on. Next thing we did is we went to this restaurant and hung out there for a while. It was just crazy. There were dogs walking around in it and chickens, and there were big speakers blasting music on one end of the restaurant, and then on the other side of our table there you can see there's guys building a boat, which was pretty strange. And all the people that were on the trip with us were really great. We made many friends that I'm sure we'll see or talk to again. There's Johnny with a tortoise that was walking around the restaurant. They're the guys that got a little bit more of the boat done as the night wore on. There's the restaurant Fitzcarraldo that commemorates the Werner Herzog movie. So we got up the next day, and the military was out in force to parade around the plaza, and kind of just a show of arms. They do that every Sunday. And there's the gang. Basically the way the trip is going to work is there's about 10 of us, and probably a dozen indigenous people. There's George and Ruber, people that grew up in the jungle. And after running around Iquitos for a couple days, we're going to head up the Amazon to the headwaters and go to the homes of the people that were on our crew. Next up, we visit the Belen Market. This place was totally crazy. Anything food-like you could possibly want in Iquitos, you can get at Belen. The weirdest fruits, exotic meats, snakes, chickens, anything. Just tons of everything. Everything's for sale.
Grubs.
So here we are walking through the market.
They wouldn't pass health codes in the United States, that's for sure.
So here Peter's buying us a block of cheese to try, some of the local cheese. I did my best to spread the false rumor that it was dog cheese. And I had some success with that. It wasn't actually dog cheese. Here Peter's buying us some limes. We kind of just tried everything that there was in the market. Just went from place to place buying different things. I don't know what's up with these chickens, but they look like they have half-formed eggs inside of them. We are trying some other stuff. We're also eating part of palm, which is quite literally a chunk of a palm tree. Meat.
What cannot be conveyed here is the smell.
I thought it smelled pretty good. I don't know what that is, but it's got some squigglies in it. There's some alligator tail or caiman tail, fresh off the caiman. There's more kinds of weird fruits and vegetables here than you can possibly imagine. Peter talking to Bucky. The place is huge, it just goes on forever. There's catfish head, there's the caiman tail again. This one market basically feeds the city. There's plecos, you might know them from your fish tank. They're a fish that can breathe air, actually, and here this woman is demonstrating, not too enthusiastically, how they can actually walk on land for short periods, short distances. They can go kind of from mud puddle to mud puddle. And
lots of vultures. break them for scraps constantly.
Yeah, Iquitos is full of vultures. And it's full of kitty cats. But overall, the city is just clean. Every night there's street sweepers that go out and totally clean the whole city. So for a crumbling city, tons of poverty, I've never seen a place so clean. Wonderful people, wonderful city. Oh, this was great. We asked some family to let us into their house so we could climb up onto their roof. And we go up about 3 stories here. And the strange thing was that most of the walls in this house were gone. Just kind of smashed out, so it was a little scary. Plenty of places to fall to your death. And just wide open. There's, you know, mattresses on the floors, someplace where somebody sleeps, another wall missing. We finally get up to the roof and there's holes covered by sheets of metal. OSHA would have a field day in this city. This is a great place to get lockjaw. You can see all the vultures all over the place. And we're going to look out from Berlin to Market. The lower part of Berlin is full of all these houses that, when the river's up in the wet season, all the houses actually float, and then when the river goes down, they settle back down onto the ground. And so we're going to look out here across the floating portion of Berlin. Some of the houses are up on stilts, but it's pretty much just these floating shacks. It goes on for quite a way. Later in the movie, the last thing we do on this trip is we actually take a boat up into floating Berlin, where we go actually down a floating street. It's kind of like a floating Venice, but with kind of a more hobble-ish flavor to it. And so all these buildings are kind of the remnants of what was built during the rubber days, other than, of course, the grass huts that are everywhere.
Imagine the stilt water in these houses.
Here we're still looking out over floating Berlin. And typically a whole family would live in one of those little buildings. It's kind of one room. We made friends with some kids that you'll see later that live out there somewhere. Kids all work, make money for their parents. So tons of poverty in Iquitos. Nobody goes hungry though. The jungle is basically a breadbasket. Oh brother, here we go. The grubs. Shishka grub, as Jaden puts it.
Oh boy. That's the part that bugs me.
One of the fine foods of
tail of the shrimp, I think.
Berlin is the
Do I eat total?
barbecued grubs.
You get it? Not the head.
There's Johnny, who's used to eating these things. He's just kind of smiling and munching on them.
Hey, chicken. Here is no factor. It's actually pretty good. Clear the mind. That's not
See me
bad.
struggling a little bit.
Think about something else. What's that like? Once it's in your mouth, it's actually tasty, right? Yeah. Try contributing. It's finger looking good. Not too bad way. Oh, that's good grub. Not bad. Good grub.
Much later, we got tons of snow.
Alright, here's the kids that sell the grubs. Once you notice the kids working, all you kids out there, better keep your room clean or we'll make you sell grubs.
¿Quieres comer?
Okay, we're going to get some more. Notice how carefully she drains the juice from the grub. When you're eating some grub, you really don't want the juice.
I was very pleasantly surprised.
I thought it was the texture.
There goes Bucky.
Bucky ate the entire head.
Yeah, Bucky didn't know that you weren't supposed to eat the black, crunchy grub head. He was like, yeah, it's a little crunchy. Like, not supposed to eat that part.
I also taste sort of like roasted tofu. It's good. Or fried tofu. Fried tofu.
Yeah, the grubs are fine. Head disgusting. Whoa. There's Jenny building up courage. Looks a little worried.
Están con sus suyos, señor. ¿Qué tal? Es natural.
Clean off the sweat before having the grub.
Mi segundo.
You want to be eating the grub all sweaty.
Oh! Coca? Bueno para los bronquios.
And there, the juices he was speaking of earlier got all over my camera keys.
¿Qué uso para bronquios?
Not my proudest moment.
Ese es muy bueno para los bronquios. Oh, sí. Hay otro también que vas a tomar. Oh, por favor. Ya, ok. Por favor, sí. Lo llevo a preparar, ya. Ah, muchas gracias. Ya.
Little grub juice under there.
Can you get something on yourself there? What's the verdict? Okay.
It was good. Better than the ones I had when I was a kid. Way better.
You had them ceviche though when you were a kid. It's like sushi.
It's taken a little longer than I was hoping for to have it all chewed up.
And they'll make anything out of anything. Alright, next up we went down Plant Medicine Alley. There's a cure for anything you can imagine in Plant Medicine Alley. It's kind of like Diagon Alley of Iquitos. And interestingly, a lot of our Western medicine is based on Amazon plants. So the idea that some of this stuff and a lot of it actually works is, you know, it certainly works. But this is the Iquitos Pharmacy. No idea what any of that stuff is. You tell them what's wrong with you, and I'm sure they'll try to sell you something. They sell, interestingly, boa grease, which sounds to me like snake oil. Amazonian panacea. So Billund was cool. Billund was crazy. Totally fun place to spend a morning. It's a little dangerous. You have to hang onto your camera, especially at the entrance. We were told there's lots of people that'll try and pickpocket them. But overall, Iquitos is a very safe city. Everybody's just nice and warm and friendly. So much activity. If my grocery store was like this, I'd be a lot happier to go to it. There's some caiman skulls.
Lots of skulls around, especially like the monkeys. Kind of disturbing.
Yeah, monkey skulls are like miniature human skulls. Oh, here's our buddies. Here's our kids that work on the street. Hey. Wrestling for the camera. Here we're at a restaurant called La Noche. Spent a lot of time there. And we bought a lot of t-shirts from Renato. So the next thing we did is we, late that day, we loaded onto a big ferry, totally crazy big ferry, and we took a ride, I don't know, about 220 kilometers up the Amazon River. And this is where we actually take off and, you know, leave the somewhat civilized Iquitos and head out for the next week. What we'll do is take this ferry overnight, and then we'll switch to smaller boats. The whole getting on the ferry was completely crazy. The ferry just packed with people. Not a lot of tourists or anything in Iquitos. Pretty much, as far as Americans go, we're pretty much the only people we saw. It is crazy. Jonathan, one of the guys on our trip, decides that he wants to miss the boat on purpose so that he can hire a speedboat to drive up next to the boat and have them jump on. So we're going to see that in a little bit here.
When do you guys want to briefly describe what we're going to do here? We're not us necessarily, but
if I knew exactly what was going on.
Okay.
We're going boat to,
I mean Jonathan.
What?
Not on the boat.
Oh, Jonathan. Jonathan's going to do sort of a Hawaii 5-0 kind of what is the one that takes place in Florida? The cops. Miami Vice. Kind of. He missed the boat on purpose, so now he has to take a speedboat to catch up with us. And he's going to have to jump from boat to boat in the middle of the Amazon to sort of step over and put one foot on one boat and have the other foot on the other. And hopefully his balls won't touch the water.
I like going to the far side though.
What's on the far side?
I that one.
It's gonna be him, right?
So, speedboat comes. He gets off. But no Jonathan. Somehow Jonathan wasn't on that boat. The reason they have the service is ferry, or the boat, pretty much just leaves whenever it wants to. Might be scheduled to leave at 5 p.m., but it might leave at 4:30. Might leave at 4:15. Might leave at 6. They pretty much just go when they feel like it.
Okay, boat number 2.
Not much really operates on a clock in Iquitos. The only way to really make the boat is to get on there an hour early and sit around. So here comes another speedboat. And so there's Jonathan and Ruber. Ruber and George and Sidley and all the other indigenous folks that helped us on our trip, they all grew up in the jungle. Some of them live, they still live in the jungle part-time, or they work as guides. Some of them live in Iquitos part-time, or in a little town upriver. But they all know the jungle fantastically. They took great care of us. Kept us out of trouble, anything we needed.
You see how simple life is.
Alright, mission accomplished.
Wasn't quite as exciting as I was anticipating, but
Yeah, it looked easy in the end. First, if the motor on that boat broke, there would have been no way that Jonathan would have caught up with the ferry. Here we are cruising on the Amazon. Huge river. The place we're actually headed is a small river that feeds into the Amazon up at the headwaters, which was really nice because we got to be in a small river that we could go canoeing around on and swimming on. If we were actually on the Amazon, it would have been a little rougher because it's just so huge. It would have been more like being at a lake than on a river. One-fifth of all the freshwater runoff on the planet, it's 1 gallon out of every 5, flows down the Amazon River. It's a lot of water.
all of that forest is new growth.
Yeah, so here we are, like, getting our first real look at the jungle. We're totally newbies at this point. We know nothing about it. Haven't really set foot in the jungle. All the people on the ferry were really nice. One thing is, though, is that basically nobody speaks English in Iquitos or anywhere where we were. So with my sparse knowledge of Spanish, it was pretty difficult. Beautiful sunset. So we went all night on the ferry and we showed up at Gennaro Herrera, this town, and we kind of commandeered somebody's kitchen and cooked breakfast. I guess we just paid them to use their kitchen. And this is a pretty big town, about 220 kilometers upriver. Probably the biggest town we passed. And the last bit of civilization we'd see for a week.
Big lizards all over the place.
That was one nasty looking dog. Didn't have much fur.
Lots of scrappy dogs in Iquitos and in this small town.
That dog was so ugly that picture doesn't even come close to explaining how ugly that dog was. We called it the monster.
Not much spaying or neutering going on around here.
So we loaded up these smaller boats called Peki Pekis. They kind of have long motors. And we took off from Herrera. And that was the last we saw of any type of kind of civilized zone. At least for the next week. There's Ashley. That's Lottie. She was wonderful. I think this river is called the Ayakayaku, the river we stayed on. Jenny and I took a little dugout canoe out and rode all over the place on this river. Really awesome. You have to be careful though, because if the dugout canoes are made out of ironwood, which doesn't float, so if you swamp the canoe it just sinks and you have to swim back. Luckily we managed to stay upright, but they're very tippy. There's Johnny up front. He's a old jungle guy. Knows the jungle like the back of his hand. Now we're really getting into it. We're getting our first real, really getting immersed into the jungle for the first time.
Those were nests hanging from the tree.
Once in a while we pass somebody on this river. So we went a few hours on these Peki Pekis, and we also managed to take a shortcut that took 2 hours off of our trip. Let's see a little bit of the shortcut coming up. There's all our gear on a separate one. Here we pass some people in a little dugout. There's Josh peeing. So here we are on the going down the shortcut. It's a very narrow, tiny river that cut a big shortcut out of the ride. We passed the occasional grass hut along the way. So this was cool. This was the first time we really got close to jungle on this trip. Totally amazing. Look at that. Beautiful.
There's so much of that pretty soon you just get used to it. It's everywhere.
Now.
So it's pretty cool. All of our indigenous helper friends, like Sidley there, they all grew up in this. Imagine growing up in just in jungle like this. It's been an awesome childhood.
A lot of people in Iquitos wear their shirts like this to protect their arms from the sun and bugs and stuff.
Look at that beautiful, beautiful Amazon rainforest. There's Juan.
40 miles an hour on the highway. Pass me by.
Every once in a while, your propeller gets seized up on
Should have actually just
vines and stuff in the water. You have to stop and use a machete and cut it free.
if we can pass me by. And then my car would drop and
A machete is almost as important as your thumb in the jungle.
Yeah, you do everything with a machete. So here we're kind of stuck a little bit. Juan's still paddling us through. But with our motor not working, we were stuck for a little bit. Or slowed down. It's also a point at which Juan had to get out, and a couple guys got out and they had to push the boat into the shallow area. At this point, I was afraid to even put my pinky into the Amazon, thinking something would bite it off. Totally afraid of the water. By the time we left, or a day later, we were fine. We were swimming in it, jumping out of trees, you know, splashing around. Nothing to worry about. Not that there's nothing to worry about, but we weren't worrying about it.
get back. I'll keep an eye out for you right there. Heads up.
There, we got our motor back.
Which one's Spanish? Which one's Spanish? No calculator?
What?
I'm kidding.
We're always bailing.
I take some classes.
Always bailing water out of it. Every boat leaks. Bailing is a continuous process. Alright, here we are at our camp. That's the shack that, or building that Jenny and I stayed in, our honeymoon suite. Here's Jenny getting a flower bath from Sidley. It's water with flower petals soaked in it. Smells really nice. Everything's just wood lashed together with vines and you know, grass type roofing. So the buildings, we had our like honeymoon cabin, then we had this kitchen area, and a bunch of kids that lived there. These are all Hyros kids. There's Josh. We also had another area where a bunch of other people stayed, sleeping in hammocks. There's Pepe. He's a Matses. That's all stuff that we brought from the Bellion market. Lots of good food. There's Jonathan. There's Pepe again. All the people that were on our trip and all the people that helped us out, welcomed us in their home. Absolutely wonderful. Peter was great, kept us busy the whole time. He was a fantastic guide. There's the bathroom. There's the kitchen. So the bathrooms work, there's just kind of the bottom half of a toilet. and which you kind of go to the bathroom trying to touch as little as possible. There's Jenny throwing a spear. And then you have to grab a bucket of water and dump it into the toilet. There's German throwing a spear. He was better at it than we were. Can you figure? So and then the toilet just kind of flushes out into the river, just a little upstream from where we would go swimming. Cute little kids running around.
Oh, okay.
Jenny one night got bit on her eyelid by something, and it puffed up and sealed shut. Really scary. It was worse looking than these pictures, by far. Even the natives were like, "Oh God!
Yeah, bit.
What is that? It's on your eye."
Oh, del chambo. Oh,
This is cool. Normally I didn't take a lot of pictures of people. Kind of puts them on the spot when you're going around with the video camera. But Sidley got my camera and she went around and bugged everybody with it. So if she wants to do it, this is her house.
yeah.
That was fine by me.
Hola, mama.
Hola, mamá. ¿Cómo saca su lengua? Hola, Jairo.
No, because sometimes
Hola, señora. Hola, señoritas, jóvenes.
We spent a lot of time hanging out in the kitchen.
Hola.
Sort of a gathering place.
Muy bien. Buenos días. Hola, señor.
And there's Roz.
Coffee.
Buenos días. Hola.
John.
¿Cómo se dice? Reporte. Reporte semanal. Ustedes van a aparecer el domingo. Un reporte en la televisión.
Sí.
Antes de la ayahuasca.
Those little tiki torches that we had around those days. Came back in from our trip, and all the chickens are all like snugged up to them. I don't know if it's for feed or anyway, they're burning themselves. They're burning their feathers off. It's like they're trying to like, get themselves cooked. Yeah, one's got like a bare ass and it's all toasty.
Hola, cholazo. De nada, señor.
Gracias, señorita.
De nada, señor.
There's some swamp rat that one of the neighbors shot. We ate some of that one night. It's delicious. It's like porky beef. Delicious swamp rat. Here I am. We like to go in the river and get a little tribal. All the actual natives thought we were crazy. Here's Josh.
Volta voltare monge ci sinci sinci machashita reaction kona chita mikayari kayari sinci sinci
My eye getting better.
There's some Amazon cockroaches that would just kind of show up and have a little guacamole. Oh, and the last night we were in the jungle. We threw this party and invited all the natives that lived up and down the river, and it was an awesome, crazy party. They had a band. I think they only knew one song. You'll hear them here in a minute. We used toilet paper for streamers, made some decorations. Once a month they get together. This is actually the band playing here. Drum, maraca, and a flute. I don't know if we can see you guys. What do you guys think about this crazy jungle party?
How could you not feel any way but love it?
Who wouldn't want to come here? All right. They just played for hours and hours. All those lights are torches. No electricity or anything in this place. Deep in the heart of the Peruvian Amazon.
Cananchi, abrazar cuerpocito, trocito, armisita y sinche cananchi. Por los cielos ayahuasca, coco champi, rama y zapa, como mama, raíz, mamá, cielo, ayahuasca. Abuelita en Gunatán, pasito con atayari, trocito, cayari, muy tarirailarina, pasaremos variación sin tranquilito machasquita. Pasaremos variación sin tranquilito machasquita.
Hard to see a giant spider. There are big spiders all over the place. We had bats that would flutter around our tents. Flutter around, and we slept under mosquito nets. And we had this bat that would visit us. That was the building with hammocks that most of the other people stayed in. There's that platform where we had our party. There's the water where we go swimming, take our canoes out. Kind of a little lagoon there that led onto the land owned by Jairo. But this family's lived there for several generations. We shot some bow and arrow. These are bows and arrows made by the Matses. Really awesome. Very different than bows that we have here. We all took turns shooting those. There's Steven.
A lot of the local kids like to stare at us.
Yeah, we get stared at a lot. It's hard to get them to smile until they know you. So there's a little lagoon where we go swimming and stuff. We had a tree that we jump out of. Oh yeah, took many, many hikes into the jungle. Some of the most beautiful and fantastic land I've ever seen in my whole life. It's the richest and most diverse ecosystem on the planet. More types of plants and animals than any other place in the whole world.
What? Yeah. I'll send you a copy.
Sorry this is so jittery and hard to watch. It's kind of captures us walking through the jungle, although not the easiest to watch footage you've ever seen. There's a spine tree. These things are amazing. Totally crazy trees that have these gigantic spines on them. All kinds of plants in the Amazon have spines. It's not just trees. There's bushes with spines and vines with spines. All kinds of plants with spines. It's crazy. Tons of different types of plants and trees and stuff all evolve with these spines. It's a good reason to wear gloves everywhere you go. You can really hurt yourself if you weren't careful.
Rosa si sangita, sinchi sinchi medicina. Rosa si sangita, sinchi sinchi medicina. Lloraremos todo el cuerpo, y un cosito, y callaremos, y chuya chuya, y coronampi, cuerpocito, punta yapi, tariran, 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 tariran. Cementerio, altar y monguito, con cuerpo.
Here's Hyro. He's the village, kind of the village shaman, medicine man. His father was a medicine man. Here's George. My good friend George took good care of us. We went on a bunch of hikes with him. We went on a night canoeing expedition. George is cool. Here's Ruber. He's a good guy too. Kept us out of trouble.
Medicina con amigo, lloraremos, toco el cuerpo y un cosito callaremos.
Here's Ruber and George looking cool in the jungle. It's interesting, you go to these different zones in the plant life and everything would change up significantly. It would get a little wetter and you'd have different types of plants and get a little drier. There's a bunch of nasty spine trees. Here's a sapo frog that George caught one night. George and Jenny and I went out trying to find them at night, canoeing and hiking and stuff. Here's a cool lizard, looks like a leaf that we found. There's Hyro taking us on a hike. He always bring a machete. He's got a machete in one hand and a shotgun in the other. Always take the shotgun when you go into the jungle, just in case something wants to eat you.
Well, or else you want to shoot an animal and bring it home.
There's a frog that Jenny found. Also kind of looks like a leaf. It's awesomely cool. Big one. Yeah, the shotgun's good for coming home with some meat. Yeah, some of these trees were absolutely gigantic. Unbelievably huge. There's Jonathan and Juan. There's Jenny before her, I got Puffy. Here's Jenny swinging on a vine. Here I am with a chunk of palm tree. Here's a stick bug.
Should we wait?
Yeah.
A lot of times we weren't on a path. We just kind of hacked our way through the jungle. It's amazing that George and Ruber and Juan could find their way because you can only see about 30 feet in spots. Here's a little town that we a little tiny village. Oh, this is cool. When you're out hunting in the jungle on expeditions, you don't bring water bottles and you don't drink out of bottles at all. What you do is you cut a section of vine, certain kinds of vine just have water in them. So here we hacked this vine, and then water just pours out of it. It's delicious and sweet. So we all got to drink out of vines. There's a big termite mound. Jungle was totally beautiful. So there's the whole gang. It kind of felt like I was on Survivor. It's our motley crew. They were swinging on vines some more. There's George. About half of everybody that swung on a vine connected really hard with a tree. I think Josh said he cracked a rib. There's another kind of spine tree. I'd never been anywhere in my life that had so much life. Stuff everywhere. Everywhere you look, something amazing. Especially if you took the time to really look. So here's this little village that we ran into during one of our hikes. There are all these kids. We bought some coconuts and drank out of coconuts. Everywhere it's like the jungle's kind of like a plant store. Oh, this was cool. We went out fruit and vegetable collecting with some of the women that we were living with. And Jenny and I tried to knock these fruits out of this tree. What they did is they saw them there tying a hooked branch onto a long branch, and they reached up and ripped the fruit out of the tree with this big hook thing that they made. It was pretty impressive. Here we are on a little expedition to visit the spookiest and craziest swamp I've ever seen in my life. It's like the quintessential haunted swamp. We had to portage the canoe for a little bit, and then we headed into the swamp. These pictures cannot convey how spooky and caiman-filled this swamp was. It was like something out of a movie or out of a nightmare. Totally crazy. There's Jenny sporting an eye patch. Kind of piratey. Alright, here we go. We're going into the swamp now. This place was just crazy. There's just mud-covered trees and twisted spine plants and bromeliads growing out on top of other trees. More different kinds of spiny plants than I've ever seen. I mean, look at this. Some mangroves and everything. This is definitely a place I wouldn't want to go at night. Give me nightmares for the rest of my life. Everywhere there's the coolest looking insects. So through the swamp there's this kind of inland marshy area, lake. And we were told there's all kinds of caiman in there that they would go and hunt. Probably not a good place to go swimming. But look at this. This place is just crazy. Look at that vine hanging there. It's covered with plants. And just endless, like spooky, weird swampiness. This is one of my favorite places that we visited. So the next thing we did is about a week later, we packed back up and headed back to Ferreira to get on the ferry. The whole town sort of shows up to the ferry, and we took off for another overnight boat ride. This time the ferry gets loaded up with all kinds of fruit and chickens and animals. There's a girl that had a pet monkey. This really nice little baby monkey. Very cute. So we went overnight once again, back upriver, or downriver rather, to Iquitos. Felt like I was in civilization when I hit that ferry. So here we are back in Iquitos now. We're at the Texas bar, the Yellow Rose. Kind of a mix of Amazon and Texas. There's Pamela, really nice lady that we met, kept running into. There's Jenny with a Shipibo woman. They make fantastic embroideries. There's Jenny with Victoria, a little girl that sells bracelets with her parents.
Get her! Attack! Tickle her.
There's Victoria and Renato trying to get them to tickle Jenny. Totally spoiled those kids. Bought them lollipops and dinner and bought lots of bracelets and t-shirts from them. Here's this shaman guy that was really cool that we met. Really nice guy. He braided Jenny's hair and wove it in string. Some absolutely monstrous insects in the Amazon. Some things that you don't want to have fly into your head. Once in a while I'd get a big beetle hit me in the side of the head. So next we went to Sachamama. It's a botanical garden and art gallery run by this guy named Francisco. Those macaws were nasty. They just try to bite you if you got near them. But Sachamama was just a beautiful place. And there are tons of bats. Lots of bats at Sachamama. They were hanging around. I guess you'll see a picture of them coming up. But there were vampire bats hanging in the entryway to where we slept. Stephen had a big bat hanging on the wall in his bedroom. And it was kind of strange because in the botanical garden there's paths leading around, which was just strange after hacking your way through the jungle with a machete to actually have firm ground to walk on. Over here on the side is a grave where Francisco's mother's buried. There's a big vine growing around it. Huge vine. There's like a poison dart frog. Saw a few of them around Sachamama. Really cute little buggers. Not easy to photograph. They're a little skittish. This beautiful forest. It's old growth forest where nobody's ever farmed. Here's the bat that was in Stephen's room. So this forest was a little different. Also, this is close to Iquitos, but it's not right on the Amazon River. So it's a little different than the jungle that we were in. Really pretty land though. It was kind of nice having paths to walk on. So it was hot and sweaty there, and there was lots of mosquitoes, but not totally overwhelming. I was expecting it to have more mosquitoes and to be hotter. The humidity was actually really nice. My skin got all soft and supple. There's some bats in the entryway to where we slept. Oh, what have we here? One bat, two bat, three bat, four bat, five bat. It's a six bat. So then we headed back to Iquitos. We had one more day, and we decided Peter had us rent a boat, and we headed into Floating Belen. Totally amazing place. All these families, all the kids were screaming, "Hello, hello." You can imagine actually just, living here. Imagine like one of those is your house and your family lives in it. All the kids and everybody, they're having a ball. You can just go swimming whenever you want there.
They drink the water, pee in it, wash their clothes in it. It's causing some sicknesses.
There's a lot of flow though. I mean, the rivers, it's a fifth of the world's drinking water flows by. Or a fifth of all the fresh water in the world. So we didn't actually get sick when we were in Peru at all. I totally expected I would, get the traveler's thing. But we ate the food and drank the water and.
Well, we drank bottled water.
Drank bottled water, but towards the end I was brushing my teeth with the Iquitos water and I didn't have any problems. Peter told us it was okay. So we were careful, really careful, till the end of the trip. So there are people living in Floating Belen. Really fascinating. It's just like stepping into another world. And look at this place. There's so much food in the Amazon, it's like a bread basket that nobody goes hungry in Iquitos. And the weather's not bad, so nobody's freezing. It's pretty easy to build a house, you just need a bunch of poles. So it's interesting, it's like a totally different take on poverty. Look at this, here's like a little girl sitting there. Somebody laying in there sleeping. And this is like the simple life. It's like a totally different take on poverty. This is the last thing we did on our trip, and it was really, really awesome. It's up like camping in a city. So then we headed out, and there's a volcano, so it took us like 3 days to get home. We got stuck in Lima, got stuck in Miami, slept on floors for a few days. So anyway, I'd like to really thank Peter for everything. It was an incredible trip, adventure of a lifetime. And from Peru, Amazon Adventure, I'm John.
Penny.
And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.